Have you ever stared at a line item on a credit card statement and felt the world tilt on its axis? It was a Tuesday night, the city lights of Chicago painting streaks across our condo window on the 34th floor. The charge was for $237.54 at a restaurant called Alinea, a place I'd only ever dreamed of taking my wife Sarah for a milestone anniversary. But our anniversary was 6 months away, and I had been in Cleveland on a business trip that night. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat in the sudden, suffocating silence of our home. I knew, with a certainty that was cold and sharp as a shard of glass, that my life was a lie. And the proof was right there, glowing on my laptop screen, a digital tombstone for a marriage I thought was perfect. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're from and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. The first few days were a blur of forced smiles and hollow conversations. I was a ghost in my own home, watching her move through the rooms we'd built together, her laughter echoing like a sound from a distant, happier life. The strange behavior, which I'd previously dismissed as stress from her high-pressure marketing job, now came into sharp focus. The late nights at the office, the way she guarded her phone like it was a state secret, its screen angled away from me, the sudden, expensive additions to her wardrobe. She'd become a stranger, wrapped in silk blouses and a scent that wasn't her usual perfume. One evening I asked her about the Alinea charge, my voice carefully casual. "Oh, that," she said, not even looking up from her phone. "It was a client dinner, super last minute, you know how it is." She was so smooth, so practiced. The lie slid off her tongue like water. That's when the humiliation began to curdle into something else, something colder. I started digging. It wasn't hard. Her phone, left on the charger while she showered, was a treasure trove of deceit. The texts with Mark, a senior partner at her firm, were a sickening screenplay of our marriage's demise. They talked about their nights together, mocking my predictability, my boring stability. They had nicknames. They had inside jokes. They had a whole world that was built on the rubble of mine. I found receipts in her car for hotel rooms at the Peninsula, booked on days she was supposedly at a conference in Schaumburg. Each discovery was a fresh stab to the gut. She grew colder as my quiet investigation continued, as if sensing a shift in the power dynamic. Her affection became a performance, her touch, a duty. The villains felt untouchable, wrapped in their arrogance, laughing at the fool who paid for the very condo where they'd likely met. The breaking point came on a rainy Thursday. I was sitting in my car in a parking garage on North Michigan Avenue, watching her and Mark walk out of her office building. He put his hand on the small of her back, leaning in to whisper something in her ear. She laughed, a genuine, unrestrained laugh I hadn't heard directed at me in years. And in that moment, something inside me shattered. The loyal, loving husband died in that damp, concrete garage. I drove home, the city a blur of neon and sorrow, and for the first time, I didn't just feel broken. I felt a chilling, clarifying rage. My grief had burned away, leaving behind something hard and sharp. It was time to stop being a victim. It was time to plan. My revenge would not be a screaming match in the living room. It would be a quiet, systematic demolition. I was a corporate lawyer. I understood structure, evidence, and leverage. For the next 3 months, I became a meticulous archivist of her betrayal. I hired a private investigator who documented every single one of their liaisons with high-resolution photos and video. I made copies of every text, every email, every hotel receipt. I tracked their spending, noting how Sarah had been using our joint account to fund her affair, buying him expensive gifts, paying for their lavish dinners. I opened a new private bank account and began methodically moving my own money, securing my assets. I met with the senior partners at my firm, laying out a hypothetical case of marital infidelity and asset division, ensuring my legal strategy was flawless. I was building a fortress of facts, and she had no idea she was already living in the ruins. The trap was set for her birthday, a grand party she'd been planning for weeks at a chic rooftop bar in the West Loop. She'd invited everyone, our friends, our family, and of course, her colleagues from work, including the unsuspecting Mark. She was radiant that night. The queen of her own little kingdom, completely unaware that her reign was about to end. Just as she was about to blow out the candles on her cake, I stepped forward, tapping a glass for a toast. I started by talking about our years together, about love and trust. The smile was wide, indulgent. Then my tone shifted. I talked about honesty, about betrayal. I saw a flicker of confusion in her eyes, a shadow of unease in Mark's. Then I played my hand. On the huge screens behind the bar, which were supposed to be showing a slideshow of her life, a different presentation began. The first image was a crystal-clear photo of her and Mark kissing outside the peninsula. The crowd gasped. The next was a text message, blown up for all to see. "He's so clueless. Can't wait for tonight." Photo after photo, text after text, receipt after receipt. I narrated the timeline of her affair with the cold, detached precision of a lawyer presenting evidence to a jury. I detailed the money she'd spent from our joint account on her lover. I announced that I had filed for divorce that morning, citing adultery, and that our prenuptial agreement, which she had always scoffed at, was now ironclad. I pointed out that my legal team had already sent a formal complaint to her firm. SHR department regarding her inappropriate relationship with a senior partner, complete with the same evidence everyone was now seeing. Sarah's face had collapsed. The color drained from it, leaving a mask of pure, unadulterated horror. Mark was frozen, a statue of cowardice. The silence on that rooftop was absolute, broken only by the sound of someone's mother weeping. She lost everything: her friends, her family, her job. Mark was fired. The prenup protected my assets, and the evidence of her spending our joint funds on the affair meant she walked away with almost nothing. The last time I saw her, she was moving her things out of the condo, her face pale and drawn. The arrogance was gone, replaced by a hollowed-out emptiness. There was no screaming, no final confrontation. There was nothing left to say. I just stood by the window, watching the movers load the last of her boxes into a small rented truck. Sometimes, late at night, I still think about that credit card bill, that single line of text that unraveled my entire world. It didn't just show me a restaurant, it showed me the truth. And the truth is a cold, quiet companion in a condo 34 floors above the city. The end.